As a real estate broker, the most common and somewhat stereotypical question we are asked most all the time, like every day, is, so how's the market going? Almost to the fact that it's a cliche. However, in 2023, the question really is, what the hell's going on? Because we are in very confusing times right now with changing conditions happening on the ground, literally day over day, week over week. So today we're going to look into what's happening in the market. It's the first week of May in 2023. My name is Ralph Fox, and I am the co-founder and broker of record of Fox Marin Associates, and we are a boutique residential real estate brokerage that services and focuses on central and downtown Toronto. The real question that we need to look at right now is how we, as real estate brokers and investors, has shifted the lens with which we look at the market, and as such, changed the way we advise and guide our clients who are trying to understand what is happening right now, boots on the ground. Real estate has always been very seasonal, and we've always tracked numbers from a month-over-month standpoint. But that really doesn't work anymore. Real estate has shifted so much as a result of a tightening of monetary policy with, I'm sure, as everybody watching this knows, over 400 basis point increase in interest rate in a very short period of time, happening all last year. So because of that, we really, to get an understanding of what's happening in the market, need to look at month-over-month trend lines to get a real feel of what's happening and how things are shifting in the Toronto real estate landscape. And it's actually a really interesting story. So I have some charts to share, and these are what we're tracking every week and month here at Fox Marin. This is what we're looking at and discussing amongst ourselves almost on a daily basis. And we're having conversations at this level with our clients, prospective clients, friends, and anybody we happen to be at a dinner party with to go through all of these interesting topics specific to the market, because it really is interesting. And as we know as brokers, everybody seems to have some type of an interest in Toronto real estate. So without further ado, let's take a bit of a dive into it, and let's get into these charts right now. So I'm going to share this with you. So the first slide here is month-over-month pricing activity. So this is really interesting to see. If you go back to August 2022 and you see where we are today, it's quite a different story than what you're seeing being purported in the mass media, because the bottoming out or the biggest drop happened in the first half of 2022. And you can see prices pretty much have leveled off since August 2022. And since the beginning of this year are on a nice incline. If you look at the top bar in blue, that represents detached homes. All of this is in the 416. And you can see now prices just shy of 1.8 million for detached homes. And you can see since the beginning of the year, what a steep incline detached prices have been making. The level down is the orange bar that you'll see here. And again, that is semi-detached homes. And you can see the rise in prices now at $1,326,000 for the average semi in the 416 area code. You can see the rise in the bar below that, which represents townhouses. And then at the bottom, you can see condos, which have remained the most flat, which is really interesting over the last, 8 months, I guess, going back to August. So you can see a lot of the price growth, as we've talked about in previous conversations on this playlist, is happening with the low-rise homes. And what's really interesting, and we'll get into it even a little more in the next graph here, we believe that as prices in low-rise continue to rise, which we think will be a trend line at least for the next few months, it's going to continue to put a lot of pressure on condos at the bottom in yellow here. And we do expect a lot of buyers to be pushed from the low-rise market into the condo market. And when we've seen this happen before, that's when condos tend to take off, and it looks and feels like statistically that is what is going to happen. So if you're a condo buyer, probably you've got a shrinking time window. And if you're a seller, you could be looking at a really great time to sell going into the summer here. The next chart that we're going to look at and pull up is the number of transactions. And so this is really interesting because no longer on the bottom, now on the top, you're seeing condos in yellow basically shooting up in transactions. And so even though pricing in the previous chart had remained relatively flat in the 416 for condos, you have seen an uptick in transactions. And again, we really think that that is indicative of a lot of buyers being pushed into the condo market. And as inventory on the condo side of things continues to get eaten up, we can look for condos to start to really pick up over the next few months in terms of price appreciation. Underneath that, you'll see detached homes getting a lot of activity. And then you have on the bottom townhouses and semi-detached. So really interesting to see the shift in condos from pricing and to the discrepancy between, or the gap between low rise and condos starting to take off. And now you're starting to see in tandem with that an increase of transactions dramatically with condos this year. And so we are looking as that activity continues and the inventory continues to shrink in the face of buyers being pushed into the condo market, that condo prices are probably going to be the next to take off. If we look down into the next slide, this is days on the market in the 416 area code. So we look at it in two ways: listing days on the market on the bottom and property days on the market on the top. Listing just represents how long the average listing takes to sell. But sometimes properties get terminated and relisted if they're holding off on offers or if there's a price change. So the indicated line in orange at the top there will just show how long it takes a property to sell versus an actual listing. But you can see both moving downwards in tandem, basically from the height in January. And to give you context, it's considered a balanced market when the average days on the market are in the 4 to 6 month range. So we are, by all accounts, looking at these numbers at 25 days for properties on the market and 18 days for listing days on the market. We are very, very deeply in a seller's market right now. And you can see the trend line, and in the next slide, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but you can see the trend line moving downward again since January. So we are in a very quick market where properties are starting to sell faster and faster, starting to tilt very much in favor of sellers once again, which is common for Toronto. You can look forward, at least for the next few months, to be seeing these trend lines continue to deepen. The next chart here is the month-over-month activity of months of inventory. And this is such an important metric that we look at Fox Marin. And basically, and we've talked about this many times before, but we'll talk about it again today, is months of inventory represents, if you take all of the existing inventory that's currently on the market, and as of today, imagine that nothing else comes out on the market at the current rate of sales, how long would it take everything in the 416 to sell? And that really represents central and downtown Toronto. And we're looking at 1.63 months. Again, very much deeply in a seller's market, 4 to 6 months being a more balanced market. So we are trending very, very tight inventory market conditions. And I think, again, that's another trend that we're going to see continuing as well. And so when you look at all of this data all at the same time, you'll very quickly conclude that months of inventory is tightening, days on the market is dropping. We're very much in a seller's market. Low rise has been performing really, really well over the last few months or the entirety of 2023. But we can expect, based on the earlier charts, more than likely to see condos start to accelerate. That's really it right now for today. And this is where we're at with the current market conditions. If you have any questions or you would like to book a time to meet or speak with us, If you're looking to making a move, either buying or selling, the market is changing literally day by day. And it's really important to make sure that you have the best and most up-to-date knowledge before considering making a decision. Once again, my name is Ralph Fox, and we hope to hear from you. Please be sure to subscribe or smash that subscribe button down below. And if you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you.